What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Action Network podcast presented by BetMGM. I'm your host, Chris Raybon. Happy holidays. This is your NFL week number 16 betting preview. You already know we're going to talk about our favorite sides, totals, teasers, underdog, money lines, and of course, crack open our weekly Sunday six-pack up against the spread bets with the help of my co-host, the Mr. 10-0 on the Buffalo Bills this year, Mr. 8-0-1 on the last 3 weeks of the six-pack, Mr. Prime Minister of Degenerate Nation, Stuck. Happy holidays. You're hot right now. How you feeling?
Good. I got there was someone left a review saying no one wants Stucky the alcoholics picks. So yeah, hopefully that guy he left the review on the podcast. Hopefully he's been fading. But yeah, it was a good week. But as I always say, last week was last week. Let's try to find some winners for week 16.
I mean, at this point, all I got to do is get my one. I'll get my one. You get your three, as you've been doing, and we have a winning weeks. And hopefully this reviewer keeps giving you bulletin board material because
hey, you've carried me plenty in the past, so I'm happy to carry for a couple weeks. But let's go for 6-0 this week.
All right, let's do it. Then Tim Kalinowski won't be giving me ants on happy hour this week. But quick programming note before we jump into Thursday night football. With the holidays coming up, we still have our normal episodes out for week 17 and 18. But with Christmas and New Year's Day falling on Mondays, we'll have shorter NFL recap episodes. Those obviously come out on Tuesday mornings the next 2 weeks, led by Action Director of Research, Evan Abrams. So check those out, but just be aware. Those will be a little shorter these next 2 weeks. And, of course, we want to thank everyone for listening. If you're still here with us 16 weeks in, we appreciate you. So on behalf of everyone here at Action Network, we wish you, your families, your loved ones, everyone you care about, very happy, safe, profitable holiday season. But let's go ahead and kick things off with Thursday night football. Saints at the Rams. Rams favored by 4.5 at some spots. The total is 46. But I've been fading the Saints. Hasn't worked out the last couple of weeks. Maybe it has something to do with the Giants and Panthers being the couple of worst teams in the NFL. I don't know. But to me, this is not a spot where you want to fade the Saints. Now they're an underdog. I think you want to fade the Saints when they're favorite. They tend to kind of fall short of expectations. But now you're just taking two mediocre mid NFC playoff hopefuls, and one of them is favored by more than a field goal on a Thursday. So I would lean Saints here. Stuck. What about you?
Yeah, I hate Thursday night football, but I actually I don't think I've had a bet on Thursday night football game in a while. I'll have a small bet here on the Saints. I think this should be basically a field goal game. Rams just don't profile. I know they covered last week because Paddleboat Ron didn't go for 2 again. I lost that total because they missed the extra point, by the way. So
kickers, and it's like kickers and Rams games, and now you got
I thought they were going to go for 2, and I had over 49. So I was like, all right, I'll take my chances with going for the win instead of the push. And I just figured they were going to go for 2. They didn't. So I was like, all right, I'll take my push. And then it gets blocked. Unbelievable.
It's like the Rams don't want their kickers to make kicks or the opponent kickers to make kicks. Nobody makes kicks in Rams games.
Yeah. Oh, the Rams missed a chip shot before then after missing a wide open pass. That one was brutal. But yeah, I like the Saints here. Carr's playing a little better of late. No, it's not been the best competition. But I mean, the Rams, they'll be a feisty dog, and I like them as a dog. It's the way Stafford's playing, and they'll be worth a look depending on who they get if they get in the first round of the NFL playoffs. But their wins have come over the Seahawks twice, Arizona twice, Washington, Cleveland with all those injuries. I think PJ Walker finished the game, and Indy and OT. Like, that's their wins this year. Their D is just bad. It's just so void of talent outside of Donald. Ernest Jones, pretty good linebacker. I like the defensive tackle Colby Turner from Wake, but just not a very good D. I wish that Ramczyk and Olave were playing. I don't think they will. They didn't practice yesterday. They could, but they didn't practice yesterday. It's a short week. But the other thing you got to mention, big special teams advantage. Saints don't have an elite special teams unit, but the Rams special teams are just so bad that they'll lose games because they're special teams. So, yeah, I think it's too many points. It's probably close game, field goal game. I should mention, too, that with Lattimore out, Isaac Yadam has really stepped up. He's playing extremely well, him and Adebo on the outside. Alontae Taylor's still a liability in the slot, so Kupp could have a big game here. But he's played really well. He's probably played himself into some money this season. So, yeah, the defense they have the much better defense, the better special teams, and the way that they play defense from a schematic standpoint is how you want to face this Stafford and this Rams offense. So, yeah, I like the Saints with the points here.
Any thoughts on the total? It's 46.5 at a lot of spots now. It keeps going up, but it's kind of interesting because we already talked about it. Both of these kickers really are liable to miss multiple kicks. Groupie and Haverchek, I believe is how you pronounce it. And I know the Rams have kind of been weaving some points out there on the on the goal line, but look at this Washington total. Washington pretty much the worst defense in the NFL, and the Rams had them at home last week, and the total, it got up to like 50, 51 maybe even, but it ended up closing around like 48, 40, and now we're up to 46.5 with the Saints, who have a much better defense. So any leans on the total, or you think it's pretty much?
I make it 45.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess I would lean a little bit under now that the total has gone up. Maybe there's like leaks in the market that Olave and or Ramczyk will play. I don't know. But with who I project playing right now, I would lean under, but not anything strong. I don't have a crazy feel on how this game will play out as far as the points go. But yeah, you could get some missed kicks, which would certainly lead to increased chances for underbackers.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams, I guess the issue with their defense is just blown coverages. You never know when that's going to rear its ugly head. Yeah. They had a couple against Baltimore and, some late against Washington. So, yeah. All right, let's get into the Week 16 six-pack.
Thirsty for action? Let's crack open the Sunday six-pack.
All right, Stuck. Nice lead for you now, 57-53. You're up by more than a field goal. For everyone that doesn't know, we do 2 points for our first two picks, one for the third, another one for the total, which we'll do in the next segment. If you sweep all of them, you get another bonus point. So for our Week 16 six-pack, because we got all these games spread out, we still won't count the Thursday game. That will be out of the running for the contest, but we're going to open it up to all of the other games because we do have 3 games on Monday, so it's not like just a Monday night game. So we'll do those will be included. All of the Sunday games obviously will be included, and the Saturday games as well will be included. So for Week 16, we're just doing the six-pack. Won't necessarily be the Sunday six-pack, just a six-pack. With that said, Stuck, where are you going first?
All right, for my first pick of the Week 16 weekend holiday six-pack, I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens plus 5.5 at the San Francisco 49ers. I told you this last week. I'm fortunately going first, so I will be taking the Ravens. This is first of all, Harbaugh as a dog, pretty much anywhere, any place, anytime with anybody at quarterback. I'm going to back them. Ravens 19-4 against the spread as an underdog since 2018. Lamar Jackson 15-1 against the spread as an underdog or favorite of less than a field goal. Lamar Jackson also 19-1 straight up against the NFC. I'm sure you'll see that a lot over the weekend. Part of that has some validity. A lot of that is they're a lot better than many of the NFC teams they play. They're not playing a team like the 49ers who are better than them, but these NFC teams are not used to the Lamar Jackson speed, and there's kind of a shell shock factor early on. You got to adjust to the angles and him creating plays with his legs. But there's a couple things that I like about this matchup. One, it is early in the week, but the 49ers could potentially have some major defensive losses. So last week they played without Armstead and Hargrave up front. Their day-to-day, Shanahan doesn't know if they're going to play. The Cardinals averaged 8 yards per rush. So their run defense is very vulnerable if one or both of them are out. You also had Lenore, their corner, has been playing really well. He went out with a rib injury day-to-day also. Talked about this early in the season. The 49ers pass defense was problematic early in the season, and then they made a key change, and they took Isaiah Oliver out of the lineup, put Lenore in as a starter, and their secondary started playing a lot better. So if he's out, then there's some potential holes again. And I have the better defense, the much better special teams, and I have Harbaugh and Lamar as an underdog in a game that I think is going to live up to the billing. I think this is field goal game. I know the Ravens will be ready. They'll be buttoned up. And I have to mention it because it's worth mentioning. The AFC over the NFC this year. Yeah, I think it's worth at least something. We saw it again with the Bills against the Cowboys last week. The AFC has had a great year against the NFC. Who have the 49ers lost to? They're 1-2 against the AFC North. They lost to PJ Walker. They lost to the Bengals at home. They beat the Steelers in the opener. I think this is too many points. I think as of right now, this is the favorite to be the Super Bowl matchup. I make it closer to 3.5. Give me the Ravens. Harbaugh is a dog. I think my prediction, 49ers win by a field goal.
Yeah, I like the Ravens as well. Any chance you think this gets to 6? I mean, 5.5, it's pushing it, but I would doubt it actually hits the 6. But do you think there's any chance of that?
I don't think so. So I already bought it at 5.5. I don't think that it does. If it does, I would assume it gets bought quick. But I think this is more likely to go to 4.5 than 6.
Would you pay for like minus 120 6, or do you think, because it used to be 7-3, but now with the way teams are going for 2 and it's more like the overtime, you're just kind of protecting the 6 for a push. But would you do that?
Yeah, if you could find a cheap one out there, I don't hate it.
Okay. Yeah, I like that as well. Ravens, high quality team, and Lamar just the off schedule things that you can't even really model. But man, that play he had last week against Jacksonville, where he was like got out of trouble. And I know people hate Collinsworth for slurping on all these quarterbacks, but that was like a slurpable play on that Lamar, where he just threw it up after getting out of trouble. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the Ravens win the game. Honestly, I think San Francisco's kind of been coasting a little bit. Now they're just coming off playing one of the worst teams in the league. Now it's kind of a little shock, step up in competition again. Niners have generally handled that well this year, but I think this should be a close game. All right, for my first pick, the second overall of the Week 16 6-pack, going with the Vikings +3 home dogs against the Lions. Not a usual Lions fade spot because this is an indoor game. Minnesota is still an indoor spot, but I think you're going to get a desperate Minnesota team still alive here for playoff positioning. And Minnesota, I keep saying this defense, I think it's being underrated. It's top 5 up in DVOA now, and obviously that's takes schedule adjustment into account. They had that one really bad game against Philadelphia, defending the run early in week 2. Since then, they're top 6 run defense as well, 7th against the pass, and that blitz is going to give Jared Goff some issues, even though it's indoors, because we all know by now Minnesota leads the NFL with a 50% blitz rate. Brian Flores has done an amazing job, and Jared Goff this year, give him his credit, when not blitz, Jared Goff, number 1 out of 41 qualified quarterbacks in PFF grade. So he's been excellent when the defense isn't really mixing it up, sending anything exotic at him, just standard 4-man rush. But when you blitz Goff, he goes from number 1 out of 41 to number 29 out of 41. So he becomes, barely a starter level quarterback when you blitz him. And again, this Viking defense blitzes teams 50% of the time, more than anybody in the league by far. So I think the Viking defense, it's a quality defense, but I think the scheme also, I will give Goff some issues, and it helps that Minnesota can defend the run reasonably well. I assume you're still going to get some big plays from Jahmyr Gibbs because he doesn't seem to be contained lately. But on the other side, Minnesota, saw it earlier in the year with Cam Akers. Hopefully this time it's for real. Ty Chandler, just excellent game in place of Alexander Mattison. So looks like Chandler should have no worse than a 50-50 split. I think they should just give him the whole feature back role, but he's averaging nearly a full yard per touch more than Alexander Mattison this year. Better success rate on both runs and receptions. And then Justin Jefferson being back is big. 65% receiving success rate. That's second to only Brandon Ayuk among wide receivers. So Nick Mullins, he's not
Cam Sutton, Shadow Jefferson. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. And Nick Mullins is just the latest in the line of these backup quarterbacks. But because, we've talked about this with Minnesota, they've low key somehow been able to build a deep enough roster to where it's next man up hasn't really hurt them. And then the coaches are just getting the most out of these guys, taking like lesser talent and getting the most. So we saw that last week with Nick Mullins, keeping him in the game, was able to throw for over 300 yards. Did throw a couple bad picks, but such is the life. I think Goff could do the same against this blitz heavy defense. So not really looking at like a major disadvantage here at quarterback with Mullins. He can get the ball to these guys, Jefferson, Hockenson, Addison, stepping up big is huge because earlier in the year, Addison was more of a third wide receiver when Jefferson was in the game. Now Addison's playing every snap with Jefferson. So I think this Minnesota offense is still dangerous. They're at home. They're desperate. The defense can bother Goff. Detroit's just not playing as well lately. And especially on defense, Detroit, you've mentioned it a bunch, Stuck. That defense is just sinking down. They're especially in the pass game. So again, like you said, Jefferson matched up on Sutton. That's a dub for Jefferson. If you sell out to stop him, Addison scored 2 touchdowns last week. You sell out to stop them. TJ Hockenson is going to burn you over the middle. And now, hopefully, if you're just selling out to stop the pass, Minnesota can actually hurt you on the ground with Ty Chandler. So not to mention, in terms of our luck rankings, Detroit, one of the luckier teams in the league, eighth luckiest, Minnesota, 21st. So it's a luck mismatch as well. We've seen the trends in this spot, week 16 conference dogs, playing, with they have won less than 50% of their games against the spread in the last 5, 78, 45, and 363% since 2015. Week 16 conference dogs with not more than one against the spread win in their last 4, 55, 28, 1, 66% since 05. So this is a bounce back spot for Minnesota that's kind of been, they've been in every game, but they've kind of been up and down a little bit. I think they get a desperate division win here because I think that blitz against Goff will slow Detroit down just enough for Minnesota to pull it off.
Yeah, I agree with this one. Like I had the Lions last week. I think that it was just more about the Broncos and all the regression hitting them at once. I was actually really impressed with the Vikings. It took them 50 miracles for the Bengals to win that game. And it's really a shame. Like in the NFC, I played this for what it's worth, so I agree. It's really a shame in that in the NFC, the 49ers are head and shoulders above everybody else. And then I think you have the Cowboys and then the Eagles. And then it's like, the Lions, if they play at home, they just don't have the defense and they're going to have to go on the road. The Rams, it could be a chippy dog, but they don't have the defense. If Kirk Cousins was healthy, the Vikings would be a legit sleeper in the AFC. You have 2 ridiculous receivers, good tight end, found your back, great offensive line with 2 really good tackles, and then this defense. That's the biggest difference, and that's the Flores bump with this defense playing as well as it is. If they had Cousins, they would be a legit problem in the NFC. And they could still win a game or two, but they just don't have the ceiling now. But I agree here. I like the Vikings at home. Anything a field goal or above. For my second pick and the third overall of the Week 16 holiday weekend 6-pack, I am going with the Easton Stick-led Los Angeles Chargers plus 12 at home against the Buffalo Bills, putting my perfect Bills record on the line against the spread this year. I knew I was going to bet this. I took some 14 early in the week. I would bet this down to 11.5. This is basically every once in a while during the NFL season, I'll have pure spot plays. There's no matchup. There's nothing I'm going to tell you about the X's and O's. This checks every box from a spot play perspective, and then I showed enough line value to play it. So number one, we're selling high on the Bills here. The market on the Bills have been a fun roller coaster to bet because I've just been fortunate enough to be on the right side of it. Bet them early in the year. Had all those defensive injuries. I started fading them. Everyone jumped off and said the Bills stink. And then, I've bet them the last 3 weeks. Now everyone's saying the Bills Super Bowl. So a little, sell high spot after 3 big games. Now you're going across country in a short week, means more late in the year. They just played the Cowboys, Eagles, and Chiefs. Chargers extended rest. New head coach bump. What does that mean? Well, I think that they quit on Staley. So, I would assume that they're going to rally here. This is basically becomes like a kind of a Super Bowl for them. They're not going to the playoffs. They can try and help ruin the Bills' season. And these are professional athletes. They were embarrassed. Gave up 60+ to the Raiders, lost by 40. Teams are never as bad as they look. And look, double-digit. Well, let me just say about this. Teams that lose by 35 or more, usually a good bet in the NFL. Buying low on them, usually get their best effort the next week after they're embarrassed. Teams lost by 35+ points the previous week, 75, 44, and 6 against the spread over the past 20 years, 63%, covering by about a field goal per game. When underdogs, after losing by 35 or more, 58, 29, and 5 against the spread, 67%. That includes 17 and 3 against the number when catching more than 10 points after losing by 35 or more, 85%. So double-digit underdog, that means they're a bad team. Some of them had backup quarterbacks as well. And they just lost by 35+. No one wants to back that team. Well, in this situation, which has only happened on average once a year over the past 20 years, 17 and 3 against the spread, covering by 10 points per game. A couple outright upsets in there as well, including 16 and 1 after the month of September. And teams who allowed 50+ the week before covered at a 65% clip over the past 30 years. Going to get their best effort here. Bills riding high. Could come out a little flat. It could get like an Allen turnover early. This is just a spot. New coach bump. Short week going across the country. Extended rest for the Chargers. Bills off 3 big games. Probably not going to be as focused here for this one. I like the Chargers. Give me Easton Stick as a double-digit home dog. And one last one here. Double-digit home dogs in the NFL will always catch my eye. Double-digit road favorites in the NFL past 20 years, 53, 73, and 1 against the spread. I like the Chargers. I think this game's going to get weird. You'll know in the first quarter if the Chargers rallied and come out, and if the Bills are flat. If that's the case, I think this will be close in the fourth. Bills probably pull it out, but I think this is the spot to back the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, you've had the feel on the Bills. I would have this would have been a game I would stay away from, but you make good points, especially about the bigger you get blown out in the NFL. I've definitely always kind of noticed that the next week because it's just natural, even from a model perspective, right? Like now you have to factor in this massive point differential into the number. And then it's such an outlier that it's almost guaranteed to come down. So you're almost guaranteed to get somewhat of a.
And then the market in general, and you have all these bettors that who wants to back the team that just lost by 50, right?
Yeah. I mean, just make sure you tie Stone Smart's hands behind his back on punt returns, because that had to be the worst penalty I think I've ever seen on special teams. And there's been some bad ones, but holding the punter when it was wide open. It was like Darius Davis was going to run away from him regardless. So yeah, that was.
Yeah, I also would say that this is sitting at 12, so there's no need to bet it now. Keep an eye on the market. 11 can be kind of key. So if it like ticks down to 11.5, bet it. But you might as well wait if you're listening to this and it's still at 12 to see if it goes back up. If it touches 13, because 12 you're in a dead zone. There's no watch to see which way it ticks.
All right, for my second pick, the fourth overall of the week 16 6-pack, I am going with the Pittsburgh Steelers +2 home dog against the Cincinnati Bengals. We're going to try this again with the Steelers, who, I mean, I like buying these teams whenever the sky is falling on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin might be fired. The tradition's dead. But I think the Cincinnati team has been running a little hot. I think, Pittsburgh.
Number one in our luck rankings now. Cincinnati.
Yeah. I was about to say, finally, Pittsburgh, not the luckiest team. No Pennsylvania teams are the top teams. Cincinnati has taken over.
Yeah, and Pennsylvania 2-3 now.
Yep. And I mean, you mentioned the Vikings getting some bad luck. That play where they had the pressure on Browning and he just throws up a prayer to T. Higgins, who makes an amazing. Yeah, but I mean, that one to T, that changed the game right there. And then the reach over. I mean, great play by Higgins, but you can't count on that happening week in and week out. And now you got
the Vikings also had 2 failed sneaks in a row to end the.
Oh my God, yeah, that reminds me of oh man, you're gonna know this. Remember the Barry Switzer? It was in like the mid 90s. Barry Switzer. It was like 4th and 1 before teams used to go for it, and he like went for it, and like I think he handed it to Emmett, but he got stopped, but they called a timeout, and then they come back out and do it again and get stopped. Like that's what that reminded me of.
That was
against the Eagles, Cowboys Eagles, like I want to say 95, 90 or 93, one of those years.
Yeah, that was it was probably 95, 96, and it was tied in the 4th. And I think it was tied in the 4th, and they had 4th down in their own territory, which back then,
yes,
with 2 minutes to go. And back then, no one would ever go for it then. And so, yeah, they got the 2-minute warning was called before they.
That's what it was. Yeah. Yep.
And then they came back out, ran it again, and got stopped and lost.
That's what that reminded me of. Like, come on. With Nick Mullins, like, come on, bro. And no, the worst part was Brandon Powell pushing him forward. Like, Brandon Powell is tiny.
Yes.
But I digress. So yes, Cincinnati. I mean, both teams' injuries that will affect the Cincinnati passing game. Pittsburgh, KZ got suspended, and then looks like Minka's gonna miss. But Cincinnati, no Jamar Chase. That's big because now T. Higgins, you could kind of game plan against him, and Tyler Boyd's been playing less. It's just a whole bunch of tight ends. I think for Cincinnati, it's just not really a offense that scares you without Jamar Chase. And Jake Browning's worst game came against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that was like the one time fading the Steelers, when they were I think they were favored, didn't work out in these last few
and the Steelers they should have won that game by about 25. They had about 400 yards of offense as the first game without Canada, so they were in that game.
Yeah. So this is kind of what the Steelers do. It's just like you think they're dead and they're going to come back. I thought they played competitively last week, and then it just all came apart near the end of the first half for them. But, you're going to get their best effort here. And Mason Rudolph, if you look at his adjusted net yards per attempt, 5.1 for his career. Kenny Pickett, 5.0, and Trubisky career as a Steeler, 4.9. So there's really been no drop off. If anything, Rudolph probably has been the slightly better one over the span of their careers. Already mentioned Cincinnati #1 in luck, and then no DJ Reader on defense for Cincinnati on the interior. Yeah, top 10 PFF grade overall for defensive linemen. Top 10 grade in run defense, and top 10 grade in pass rush too. So even the interior pass rush takes a bit of a hit, but we
and the drop off. The most important thing is the drop off to his replacement. Like it's
yeah. And we remember last year when this Reader missed a good chunk of the season, and the splits were like night and day. It was like they were allowing, like under 4 yards of carry, well under 4 yards of carry with Reader on the field, and high 4s, low 5s with Reader off the field. So Pittsburgh, anytime you can help this team run the ball, that's always important when you have a quarterback situation like this. But more importantly, this another one of these Tomlin rah-rah spots. We know he's 55-31 against the spread as a dog, 64%, 17-6 with 3 pushes, 74% against the spread as a home dog, 73% against the spread, 29-11 when you have an opponent with a better record, and the Steelers are a dog under Tomlin, and as a dog off a loss, 21-11, 66% against the spread. And then it doesn't happen often, so I don't know how much to put into this, but it did pop up on my Action Lab, so I thought I'd mention it because it's pretty interesting. But week 16 underdogs on a 3-game losing streak, 17-3 against the spread, 85% over the past 2 decades. So
17-3. That's
yeah, you had one too, a 17-3
17-3.
Yeah, so I mean, hey, we're both going with 17-3 trends for our second pick. What could go wrong back in Mason Rudolph and Easton Stick, right? So give me the Steelers +2.
Yeah, I actually just played this. I was waiting to see if it would go to 3, but it's not. So yeah, it's down to 2 everywhere. So it's not going to go to 3. So I just played +2.
It's not going.
And yeah, I like this. The Reader loss is huge. The Chase loss is huge. And the Bengals, Browning's played well. Expiration date is coming. And then if you look historically, I mean, he's gotten away. If you look at adjusted completion percentage over expectation, like all the tip balls too, the balls that he's just chucked downfield. And then a lot of it, like against the Colts, he had 250 yards passing, 210 were after the catch. He's getting a little bit too much love here. And then for what it's worth, like you have Mason Rudolph. I guess we're going with the Christmas theme here. I will say for the Bengals, though, I talked about this earlier in the year. Nick Scott, I said they should put Jordan Battle in, which they have, and that's helped a bit in their secondary. They benched Nick Scott. But now with Reader, like that is such a big loss in the middle, and the Steelers will be able to run it now, and they'll probably break some explosives, and that's like nice for a quarterback like Rudolph to rely on. And since 2019, there's been 99 quarterbacks with at least 100 dropbacks. If you look at adjusted EPA per play, Rudolph's 54th, Trubisky's 49th, Pickett is 58th. So there's really no discernible difference. And Trubisky has completely lost the plot. I mean, he was lost out there. So I would say that this is even an upgrade because he was completely lost. I think he was like shaking confidence and missing the easiest throws. And so I think this will provide a boost to the offense. The only thing I just hate is that, and by the way, this is the 4th or 5th law of thermodynamics. I think there's a 4th, but it's like informal. I don't know. Tomlin has to finish with an above 500 record. So he needs this win to do that. And then he'll probably lose at Seattle, and the Ravens will somehow have the 1 seed locked up, and then they'll win at Baltimore in week 18. Yeah, so there's really no difference, and I think Rudolph will provide a boost. The only thing that scares me is just if like things are going wrong early, because I think they'll show up. Like the body language on the Steelers sometimes, like especially the receivers, it's so bad. But yeah, this is a classic Thomas spot.
I mean, that's the Steelers voodoo, right? It's like the minute you think things could not get any worse, it's like they just come there and surprise you. So I mean, really, we're betting on the defense if we're betting on the Steelers anyway, right? We're not betting on George Pickens to suddenly turn his attitude around. So yeah,
should be a ton of pressure here too off the edge against those Bengals tackles. I think Orlando Brown has allowed the highest pressure rate in the NFL of any tackle. Although we'll talk about this game later. The I have to mention this. So most pressures allowed by left tackle this season, Orlando Brown, 50. Most sacks allowed, Becton, 11. So 50 pressures, 11 sacks. The Titans left tackle combo of Dillard, Duncan, Radins, and Petit Ferrer. I think they've had 4 guys for left tackle. So 50 pressures is the most by 1 and 11 sacks. The Titans left tackle combo this year is 76 pressures allowed and 20 sacks. They don't even playing Dillard, and they're playing Duncan, who's so bad. Anyway, we'll get to the Titans later.
That was just a nightmare. Like, it was like, all right, their line, it shouldn't be that bad. They should fit. No, it's that bad. It's that bad. But yeah, we're going over your third.
All right, for my third pick and the 5th overall of the Week 16 holiday weekend 6-pack, I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons -1 at home against the Indianapolis Colts. Catch a falling knife here with the Falcons. Everyone says they're dead. Coach getting fired. This is mainly a fate of the Colts. I think the Colts are a fraud. Said it many times. And also Michael Pittman, concussion protocol. Taylor Moss still questionable. Right to tackle Braden Smith dealing with an injury. Last week, the Falcons lost to the Panthers. I think this is as low as they're going to go in the market. You got to remember that game was played in horrendous weather conditions. Ritter gave it away with the worst pick I've ever seen in an NFL game. And they were also playing without McGarry and Lindstrom, 2 of really good offensive linemen. They were also playing without Onyemata. I think all 3 will be back. They were close to all playing. I thought they were actually going to play, and then I was going to bet the Falcons, and they didn't. But they went through warm-ups, and so I would assume they play here, which they basically couldn't run it to the right side of they just had to try to run it to the left side of the line the entire game last week. And then they had no one in the middle because they had to put their streak got hurt. They had to put him on IR. So I think Onyemata, McGarry, and Lindstrom should be back, which will provide a boost in the trenches. But the Colts, also one of the luckier teams in the NFL per our luck rankings. And you're not going to be able to run on Atlanta, assuming Onyemata's back. Their run D's been good. Minshew has a flurry of turnovers coming. He's 14 touchdowns, 8 interceptions on the year, despite 12 big-time throws, 21 turnover-worthy plays. And the Colts, look, I have a lot of respect for Shane Steichen. I think he's a hell of a coach. I think the Eagles really miss him. It's one of the things that's going wrong there right now. But, it's going to be up to Minshew without Pittman here. And there's turnovers coming. And I think the Colts are just at the peak of their market value. Let's look at what the Colts have done since October 1st. They have 5 losses to the Rams, Jags, Browns with PJ Walker, Saints, and Bengals with Jake Browning. All those teams in the playoff mix, even though Browning and Walker were 2 of their losses. Fine. Who are their 6 wins? Titans twice, one of them in overtime because the punter got hurt. The Panthers, the Patriots in London, in a game they were outgained by, I think, 100 yards. The Bucks and the Steelers. Those are their 6 wins over the past 2 months, or 3 months, I should say. 13-5 turnover margin in those games. 3 of those 6 teams that they beat have now benched their quarterbacks that they faced. They were outplayed and outgained in 4 of the 6. On the season, 5-2 in 1 possession games. The second most takeaways in the league with 24. This team has just been getting very fortunate and not beating anyone really respectable since that Ravens win in overtime. Getting very lucky in close games. Minshew has some turnover regression coming. And the defense is just bad. It's like the D-line is good, and Kenny Moore is a hell of a slot. But other than that, you can throw on them, and I think that's where I really like this change to going to Taylor Heineke, who will give them a better shot of attacking downfield. And Ritter just literally has given away so many games just with, here's the ball. Like, inexplicable turnovers. And the Falcons have been on the opposite end of the spectrum of the Colts. They're 2-5 over their past 7 games. 1-5 in games decided by 5 or less. They lost by 5. 3 on a final minute touchdown. 2 on a last second field goal. 4 on a last minute touchdown. And 2 on a last second field goal. 5 losses by a combined 16 points, 4 of which came in a final second touchdown or field goal. So they've been getting extremely unlucky. I don't think they're as bad as people think. I think they get this win at home. Give me Atlanta Falcons -1.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Falcons are bad in terms of like they're playing below their talent level because of a combination of Ritter and I think just Arthur Smith is
coaching.
He's out there. He's out thinking himself this year. But like I've been saying, this Colts team, you've been saying it too. This Colts team is fraudulent. I mean, we should, like you said, Steichen, great job, but there's only so much you can do with this type of team. And I think at some point it's going to come back. They're going to come back down to earth. I don't know how Minshew's been getting away with just putting this ball up for grabs, and he hasn't really paid as much as he should. The Falcons defense playing well, even without Grady Jarrett. So that's big here. They can stop the run. That's also big. So I like this too. I'm mad. I think the Falcons were like a 2-point home dog at one point. So I'm mad I missed the line, but you're still kind of just picking the Falcons to win the game. I mean, our NFC South future up in flames these last 2 weeks. I mean, it's been bad, but hopefully the Falcons can get it back. I'll close it out. Third pick, 6th overall of the week 16 6-pack, going with the Cardinals +4 at the Chicago Bears. This is tough for me because I love the Bears. Think they're playing well, playing how I thought they would play for the entire year. But I also think the Bears have been getting lucky. Their defense has forced 14 turnovers over the last 4 games, 3 or more in each game. They've had a +6 turnover differential over those last 4 games. And I think this Arizona team is not as bad as it was earlier in the year. The defense is still bad, but we know Chicago and Justin Fields can turn the ball over and kind of, it almost doesn't matter what defense they're facing. They kind of play the same. Like they're going to make some big plays and they're going to have some mind-numbing turnovers. But you look outside this Ram debacle, which you say it's a circle of life every year. The Rams just dust the Cardinals. But outside the Ram debacle, Cardinals beat the Falcons as a home dog. They lose to Houston on the road by 5, numerous chances to win or be closer than that. They beat Pittsburgh by 2 scores as a road dog. And then last week, respectable performance against the Niners. I mean, Niners are going to stomp you. You're one of the worst teams in the league, but they did outgain San Francisco by 30. They put up over 400 yards of offense on the Niners. They put up 29 points. They ran the ball well. And then you got, this kind of spot. I'm going to keep backing it until it fails. Kyler Murray, road underdog, 15-4 with 2 pushes in his career, 79% against the spread. And as much as I like this Bear team, I think we're kind of at the top of the market here. I don't think this Bear team should be favored by more than a field goal, even though they're at home against anyone at this point. So going with the Cardinals here. Kyler Murray, road dog, usually cashes. Probably I could see a Bears win by 3 in this spot. So give me the Cards +4, anything over a field goal, like it.
Yeah, I got nothing here. My darling Bears. I've backed them 3 times.
Right.
The past month, they got me wins. I hadn't bet them for years before them, but it became semi-obsessed with them, but don't see any value in them this week. No strong field, but yeah, asking the Bears to win by margin, taking the dog here. I don't hate it. I'll read you in. Nothing here for me.
All right. So to recap, stuck Baltimore +5.5, Chargers +12, Falcons -1. I got the Vikes +3, Steelers +2, Cards +4. So you got, let's see, Lamar, Easton Stick, and Taylor Heineke. I got Nick Mullins, Mason Rudolph, and Kyler. So kind of, I mean, Lamar's better than Kyler, but still kind of the same quarterback situation here. All right, now it's time for the Week 16 Coaches Pep Talk. For this week's Pep Talk, we're going to the 1976 Film Network, and we're dedicating this one to the Pittsburgh Steelers and to the Los Angeles Chargers. I think those are 2 that we need a little bit of luck.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, and all we say is, just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Steelers Chargers, Week 16 Pep Talk, 1976 Film Network. Always love that one. All right, let's get into our favorite total of the week. All right, we've had a pretty solid year on totals overall, 17 and 13. You went first, stuck with the six-pack. I'll go first for the total. I know we both like this one. Patriots, Broncos, under 34.5. Pretty simple. Probably going to have freezing temperatures. Probably going to have some snow. New England can stop the run. They're number one in run defense DVOA. That's what the Broncos want to do. Broncos, need to win out. So I don't think they're going to get too crazy here. Patriots don't play too aggressively. One of the more conservative teams, even though they've been one of the worst teams in the league. New England road unders, even, going back to the Brady era, when New England goes on the road, they really don't they just kind of go about their business. Road unders for the Patriots are 40 and 23, 67% all the way back to 2016. Non-divisional primetime unders that have dropped at least a point or more than a point, which this total opened, I believe it was 36.5. So it's down about 2 as we record this early in the week. But non-divisional primetime unders that have dropped more than a point since the opener, 57 and 24, 70% since 2016. Unders in freezing or below temperatures, which it looks like we might get. Forecast right around 31, 32 right now, but unders in freezing or below, 58 and 37, 61% since 2015. Under 37 or less outdoors, which you've seen a lot of this year, especially, but under 37 or less outdoors, 32 and 12, 73% over the past decade. And we know about just primetime unders in general, 64% this year, 65% since the start of last year. I don't see many points being scored here. I don't see many risks being taken here. And I think both teams will want to run. New England can stop it. That doesn't mean Denver's going to throw it around the yard. So give me the Pats, Broncos under 34.5.
Yeah, this would have been mine if you weren't first. The Patriots, if you look, the Chiefs put 27 on them. But before then, their opponents scored 18, 6, 10, 10, 20. So, unless they're facing like an elite offense, which the Broncos isn't, they're not giving up any more than 17 to 20. So this plays out to like, 17, 13 type of game. And one thing that you didn't mention is Bailey Zappi he was among, I think, any quarterback this year. He's dead last in adjusted paper play. Antonio Mafi is back in at guard, and that's a disaster. Cole got hurt. He's on IR.
Yeah.
Trent Brown could be out again, and his backup got hurt. So the offensive line could be. There was times early in the year where the offense was completely dysfunctional. You couldn't do anything, and it could be back to that with this offensive line. So, I like that. For my favorite total, I'm going to go. This one is just, I don't have much to say on it. I'm going Packers, Panthers over 36.5. I think this should be like 38.5. So this is mainly a numbers play. 37 is kind of key. You get the 20 to 17, you're going over. Panthers have played some really low scoring games. Their offense is awful. Maybe they can take some confidence from last week late in that game, but the Packers defense is trending in the wrong direction. I just think this is a product of the scoring environment and everything that we've seen with Panthers games of late. But look at the Packers, they go 34 to the Bucks, 24 to the Giants. They give up 20 to the Chargers, and they had like 50 drops in that game. 23 to the Steelers. So I think there's they also got to play the Rams with Rippin. They had all those drops in the Chargers game. Their D is headed in the wrong direction. This is mainly just the numbers play, and the weather's going to be okay in Charlotte for December. There's no wind or anything. So I just think this is too low, and it's below a key. So give me the Packers, Panthers over. Those are the two totals I bet this weekend are the Patriots under and the Packers over.
Yeah, I mean, no feel on this one other than, I mean, it takes some stones to bet Panthers overs. They just love to run the ball. I mean, they've been running the ball down. I've noticed that. Like Chuba Hubbard is like a top 10 fantasy back for me this week, which kind of surprised me. But yeah,
that could work against the Packers.
I mean, yeah, it could. I mean, Joe Barry, line up everyone, 10 yards back from the line of scrimmage on the 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 3. I mean, it's just, he's Joe Barry continues. It just continues to amaze me because I feel like there's talent there on that defensive roster for Green Bay, but no feel on that one. But
the Packers next year could be an interesting future. Jordan Love, believe in Jordan Love. We'll talk about this in the offseason, but they have all those young pieces, and they have some they have an offensive line with potential. And if they get someone like a Flores bump with a defensive coordinator change, they'll be a team we'll spend some time on in the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, you could have a guy like maybe like a Robert Saleh become available, just like a competent defensive mind that has had coaching experience.
Yeah.
Even like it doesn't, because Flores, I mean, that's beyond. Like Flores is one of the all-time bumps at this point for a Vikings defense that was dead last. But like, just get a competent guy in there. And I think they'll be in a better shape. But that is our totals. I got Pats, Broncos under 34.5. Stuck has Packers, Panthers over 36.5. Now it's time for our favorite teaser of the week. All right. For those unfamiliar with teasers, when you get an extra allotment of points to parlay with 2 or more spread bets, usually the standard is a 6-point teaser with 2 teams. So for example, you have an 8.5 point favorite. They become a 2.5 point favorite. A 2.5 point underdog becomes an 8.5 point underdog with a 6 point teaser. Stuck has a lot of great content out talking about how he approaches it, what key numbers he's trying to bet through, and all that good stuff. So be sure to check that out. You can Google Stucky teasers and you'll find all of the articles. So check those out. We both 10-5 on teasers this year, so 20-10 overall. Stuck, where are you going for week 16?
Let's go with a classic one. 2.5 point dogs up to 8.5 in lower games with lower totals. Let's go with the Titans. See this every year. Or Seahawks probably lose this game. They beat the Eagles. They need to win to keep the playoff hopes alive. You're going to see a lot of these teams lose as favorites. But lower scoring game. Probably get Tannehill starting here, which is fine. And I mean, the offensive line is a disaster, but I'm very comfortable getting 8.5 at home. Vrabel is a dog as well in play. And then let's go with the Texans. I know Stroud's not going to play. There's some other injuries to keep an eye on there because they're pretty banged up. Cashman, Anderson, Collins, but this Browns team also has a ton of injuries. I mean, you're now down 3 tackles, potentially Bitonio at guard, Pochich at center, Walker at linebacker, Thornhill at safety, Delpit at safety, McLeod at safety, Hurst, Okoronkwo on the D-line. They can't run the ball right now. Flacco will make mistakes. He's looked better than their other options, but he's still 38, and you have to face the Rams and Jags secondaries, and the Jags had a ton of injuries his first 2 starts. And last week he had a bunch of big plays against the Bears, but he should have had about 4 or 5 picks in that game at 8% turnover-worthy play rate. Him, PJ Walker, and DTR are among 50 quarterbacks with 50-plus dropbacks. They're all bottom 10 adjusted EPA per play. So I think Flacco's getting a little bit too much credit. And look, the Browns are 7-3 since the bye. They won by 2 on a missed San Fran field goal, 1 on a missed call in the end of the Colts game. They beat Clayton Tune by 27, won by 3 on a last-second field goal. 2 on a last-second field goal. They trailed by 14 in the 4th. 3 on a last-second field goal. They trailed by 10 in the 4th and 4. And their 3 losses have come by 38 points. If you remove the Tune game, they're 6-3 with a negative 25 scoring margin. They trailed in the 4th in 7 of their past 10 games. and they've gone 7-3. Tied or trailed in 8 of those 10. Browns road defense, 31 points per game. They're 2-4 on the road with wins by 1 and 2 in games that they trailed by double digits in the fourth. They've allowed 26, 24, 38, 31, 29, and 36 on the road. And it's not like they faced all elite offenses. It's the Colts, Broncos, Rams, Steelers, Seahawks, and Ravens. So, yeah, I feel comfortable, even without Stroud, that they can keep this within a touchdown. Wouldn't be surprised if the Texans still won this game.
Yeah, I like the Case Keenum revenge spot.
Yeah,
even though he started his career with the Texans, but now he's back. He was in the Browns a couple years ago. But yeah, I like that. I agree. Taking that as part of my teaser as well. I think Cleveland's been getting super lucky, but even if they're not, like they're playing all these close games anyway. It's Joe Flacco. He's throwing like one bad pick per game at least. So I don't really see much difference between these two squads with as banged up as Cleveland is. For my other leg, I'll go Steelers. Thought about the Titans, but I just feel like something about the vibes. Like I feel like Seahawk vibes have been restored, whereas Titan vibes, I think they just got mathematically eliminated. That was just a brutal loss to. I mean, I think you had a future on Tennessee too, right? To win the South, AFC. Yeah. So like we would have actually been alive if they could hold on against Houston. Because Jacksonville is kind of shit in the bed. They would have been 2 games back with 3 to go. But yeah, now I just worry that the bottom might fall out a little bit on Tennessee, especially if Levis doesn't go, because he seemed to be giving them a kind of a boost. He's coming off that big win against Miami a couple weeks ago. So I just worry that you might get one of those like throw in a towel, it's the holidays, season's over type of performances from Tennessee. Whereas Seattle, it's like, can you win a game in the first quarter? Hell no. Can you win a game in the second? You see that Pete Carroll speech?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Like, it's funny to me because I'm like, actually, if you played better in the first 3 quarters, like, yeah, I don't know if that's the best message to give to these young, impressionable football players, but hey, whatever works. But yeah, that's the only reason. I don't want us both of our teasers to be tied to a potential Titans like meltdown. So I'll go Steelers because I feel like we've already had 3 of these in a row. Steelers got to at least keep it close this week. So we'll go Steelers, Texans for me, Titans, Texans for you, and we'll try to get to 11-5 each. All right. As a reminder, Action Network Podcast is presented by BetMGM. Use bonus code ACTION, ACTION, when signing up. You get up to $1,500 paid back in bonus bets if your first bet loses. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Time for our Underdog Moneyline Parlay. You've been carrying on this. You got 7. I got 3 this year. Just the Bears. I can't believe the Bears couldn't hold on last week. And then, bro, like I've been catching some bad beats here, but
on that 4th down.
Bro, that was a great play though. I mean, that was. I give him like that's a play you just live with, but everything else, and then the Mooney just in his bread bat. I mean, he's had a massive fall off.
Tunyon in the first half dropped the easy walk-in touchdown.
Bro, that was. I don't think I've seen one that bad since last year. I think this was actually when I started the Panthers whispering when Mike Evans with Brady threw him like a perfect deep shot, and they weren't even hitting deep shots, and then he just drops it, and they end up losing like 21-3 to the Panthers. Yeah, that was. I mean, Tunyon, man, he's been losing some time to Mercedes Lewis. I can see why. If Tunyon can't give you that play, what is he really giving you? Not a better blocker than Lewis, that's for sure. Yeah. So, but I digress. We're going for week 16.
Christian Watson, I think last year had one that was.
Oh yeah, opening first play of the year. And that I remember that because I was on. I think we were probably all on the Vikings as like a home dog. It didn't matter. I think Green Bay still lost by multiple scores, but yeah, that game might have turned out just the tenor of that game. It was like the
first couple minutes of the season. Rodgers,
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was their first play or at least their first pass of the year. It was like a play action, perfectly drawn up. deep shot Christian Watson drops. But yeah, memorable. That's right up there. But where are you going?
I'm gonna go with the Cowboys against the Dolphins. I think that this will be a really good game. Should be close. I expect the Cowboys put better effort here against Miami, who still hasn't beaten anyone with a pulse all year. I don't think that makes them fraudulent, but they have some injuries, especially on the offensive line. That could be the difference. The Cowboys defensive line, right? If they get a lead in this game and you can pressure Tua into some mistakes, that could be the biggest mismatch in this game. So yeah, I'll take Dallas.
Yeah, I'm thinking about taking Dallas just straight up on the spread or whatever. Trying to see exactly where Miami's at. The injuries, obviously Tyreek Hill, that would be the big one.
That would be massive,
but I thought, I mean, luckily I didn't actually invest, but I thought Miami wouldn't. I thought the Jets would be able to keep it closer. I'll put it that way against Miami last week. But it might set up well for a kind of fade Miami spot buy low on Dallas. So I'll be check the app, but I'll be looking out, monitoring that one. I'm gonna go with, speaking of the Jets, I'm gonna go with Washington here, just because. I mean, you're gonna get either concussed Zach Wilson, and some of these quarterbacks coming off these concussion protocols. I don't know if they're letting them come back, but I don't know if they should be. Or you're getting Trevor Siemian. So while Washington is
Hal definitely starting for Washington?
It sounds like, yeah. So they said he was. Obviously, maybe a shorter leash. I don't see why. I mean, at this point of the year, you started for 13 games. You might as well see what you got for the last 3. But maybe they wanted that. Maybe they wanted to see what like Bieniemy, and Brissett could do. I don't know. Maybe that was the motivation. It was kind of odd to me that they benched him. But either way, we always talk about this. Moneyline dog, what do you want? Uncertainty. There's uncertainty. Both of these sides in terms of quarterback. How long is Howell's leash? I think if Washington makes a quarterback, it's like if there's a quarterback change for Washington, it probably benefits Washington more because Brissett looked better than Howell, and probably less. The Jets aren't preparing as much for that. So this Jet team, great defense, but they could still lose to anybody just because of their offense, and especially if I'm getting a chance to get Trevor Siemian as a favorite, I'll fade that. So nothing major X's and O's wise, other than two bad teams. Washington getting plus 140. I'll take it.
Yeah, don't hate it. And I hope I see 0 plays of that game.
Yeah, that's another bad one. Thought about the under in that game, but just not sure exactly who's playing yet, and more got to model the turnovers, which with the Jets and Howell, and just could get ugly. So, but looking kind of leaning under on that game as well. All right, let's get to let me do the parlay first. Dallas plus 105 at BetMGM, Washington plus 140 at BetMGM. Parlay those together plus 392. So just under 4-1. Now it's time for the best of the rest. The games we haven't covered in any other segment, but are still, as they say, meaningful to some. We got a matchup of 2 Florida teams. Jaguars at the Bucks. So not a lot of travel for the Jags, but Trevor Lawrence in concussion protocol. Bucks favored by a point. The total 42.5. Tough to really handicap this. I don't think Lawrence has been officially ruled out because we've seen these quarterbacks on the concussion protocol come back quicker later in the year. It's going to be a short week because they played on on Sunday Night Football. So I would doubt he gets cleared, but I don't know. Any thoughts on this one? Baker Mayfield playing well for what it's worth. But any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Campbell and Cisco are back at practice today. Lawrence and Zay Jones were not. If Lawrence and Zay Jones were playing, I'd be looking to buy the Jags here. But too much uncertainty. Line's probably right where it is now, given everything that's going on. So, yeah, it's too hard to say anything right now.
Raiders at the Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 10, total 41.5. Raiders coming off that big win on Thursday against the Chargers. Long rest for them, but kind of a little bit of a letdown spot. But the market's also pricing that in with giving the Chiefs 10 with a total of 41. I mean, I'd lean Raiders, but at the same time, never want to really bet a team coming off a 40-point win either. So probably stay away from me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this market's pretty right. We leaned under a little bit over 41, but and the Raiders a bit. I make it like 8-9. But I think this is pretty fair. Chiefs have also had some like positive regression coming on offense. But the question is, Kelsey washed? Is he getting to wash territory?
Oof. I mean, I don't know if you could say washed.
He's still one of the best tight ends in the NFL, but I'm saying like he's
a peg down.
He's on a hill.
Twilight. Yeah. Like a little peg down. Like he's not. So like I was talking to Kerner about this because for projections for fantasy and the reason Kelsey has been immaculate as a fantasy player, and this applies to real life as well, is you have a guy running 90% of the routes, running around or 90% of the dropbacks as Patrick Mahomes' top target. And now Rashee Rice last game actually ran around on 93% of the dropbacks. The whole year he'd been like 50-60%. Rashee Rice getting targeted 26% of his routes, Kelsey 24%. And that's not just the usage stat, that it's who's getting open more too. So I think from that perspective, you are starting to see that again. Because this is not Tyreek Hill, which and not even Tyreek Hill didn't really get a higher target rate than Kelsey consistently. So I think Kelsey a little bit. I think he's hurting. I think they're probably trying to limit how much they rely on him until the playoffs. He's still out there, but sometimes more as a decoy. But I think we won't really be able to truly answer that question till they get into like the playoffs. And then if we see Kelsey with these 5 catches for 40 yards again, and the Chiefs are still struggling on offense, then we know. But yeah, it looks that way.
A little business to see. He's got that potential Taylor Swift money coming too. Little business decision with that alligator arm in the end zone last week.
Yeah. No, it's just, what it is with Kelsey though. He's such an emotional player that all it's gonna take is like somebody to like make a big deal of this like in the public, and like he'll go like too hard next game.
Maybe I should shut up in case the Chiefs are the Ravens.
That's what all right. That's what I say. I'm not ready to call the funeral for Kelsey yet, but it's kind of raising my eyebrow a little. And Kerner even was like heading into last week, he was like, if there's ever a time to like not have Travis Kelsey ranked number 1 tight end, it might be now. So I mean, everyone's kind of noticing a little bit. So definitely something I'm watching. But the last game we have here, Giants at the Eagles. Eagles by 12, total 42. I mean, this is a get right spot for the Eagles. Don't love laying 12, but I don't think this is a spot where you want to try to back the Giants here. The Eagles have been just a brutal gauntlet of matchups. Now they get a division opponent that they know well, even though the quarterback is different, and that they trounced 3 times? Well, twice last year, and then I think they played them week 17. So I would lean Eagles here. What about you?
Yeah, Eagles are nothing. This is, you'll get their best effort here. Christmas Day, the crowd, the D line can dominate this game. Giants won't be able to run it. I mean, passing downs, DeVito's going to get sacked a ton. A D line, crowd noise, and then Eagles get a lead, and then it's going to snowball. I think this is Eagles blowout.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. All right, that is a wrap for us. Thank you for listening. We'll be back here every Thursday all season long. You can hear more of me this week with my guy Kerner talking fantasy, DFS, all that good stuff on the Fantasy Flex podcast. Also, we got the fantasy preview, the player projections episode right here on this channel with Kerner and I. Don't forget to check out the Action Network Discord server, link in the episode description, and of course, Stuck. We'll talk college football on Big Bets on Campus, which drops on Friday morning. You can find Stuck on X at Stucky2. I'm on X at Chris Raybon. We're at those same handles on the free award-winning Action Network app. Happy holidays to everybody. Let's get this money. Let's give this money. Let's be generous and stay safe out there. Peace.
Happy holidays. Cheers. Let's go.